Hello, 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 my friends. I'm Rachel Archelaus, founder of the Intuitive Art Academy. Hello, I'm here with Carrie Roldan, my business BFF and yours.
Yeah, and I just saw the topic of the conversation today, which is making lots and lots of money. And it's one of my favorite conversations. And I was like, oh man, I had intended to change. I slept in this last night and then I worked out and then I threw it back on over my sweaty self. And Rachel was like, yeah, I normally put on makeup before these calls. And I thought, this is so perfect because I don't know about you guys, but I had some ideas about what I would look like and how I would present and what I would be like when I was making lots and lots of money. And so I actually think that my 10 years ago self could really use this conversation with this version of me looking exactly the way that I didn't think I'd look by the time I got here. So yeah, and hey, I see you guys are checking in.
Hi, Karina. Hi, Corinne. And hi, Guillaume. Guillaume and I had a conversation yesterday, and you, Guillaume, were the inspiration for this topic. So, yeah, I know you're going to love it. I would never have wanted to have this conversation 10 years ago. 10 years ago, let's see, I was just starting my business. Well, I was actually thinking about starting my business. I really started in like 2012. And I had been dabbling, I would say, in business, making like a couple $100s a month, sometimes, really not ever. I didn't have a website yet. I had one before, but I never put my services up. Like I had kind of been through trying on my own and working for a center, like a local center would get me readings sometimes. And I would teach a class sometimes. I was working as a psychic. I hadn't claimed my own powers yet. And I see this happening a lot with people who are starting out is the Reiki's in front, the intuitive art is in front, the this is what I can do, this is what I can do is in front. And they are just like kind of cowering in the corner, like, but but you don't need to see me, but I'm not anything special. It's these things that are special. And I was absolutely doing that, like 100%. I was the one barely able to speak in front of a group, looking down all the time, horrified to be taking money for what I was doing, and yet knowing that it was okay and that this is how I could live. This is how I could be myself in the world and be able to buy food. Like I knew it was okay intellectually, but it took me a long time to understand that it's okay. You can be a good person and take money for what you do, regardless of whether it is spiritual or you're building someone's deck, right? It doesn't matter. And I think it's good for you to know my baseline, but I think we're going to talk more about the lots of money part instead of the lots of not money part. But I wanted you to know, like, this is where I come from.
Yeah. But I think it is important for everyone to know that both of us do come from a place of always knowing or at least believing that we would make lots and lots of money. Right? So, I mean, I remember being told that as like a little child. That there's this story my parents tell me about how they were asking my brother and I what we want to be when we grow up. And my brother's like, when I grow up, I want to work at McDonald's. And I was like, when I grow up, I want to own McDonald's. Like, like I was always that. People used to ask me when I was little also, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always said a lottery winner. Like, like I knew, like I want to be uber rich. And for me, that was how I could see, right? I couldn't imagine like, oh, I'm going to invent something amazing. And although I have had those dreams and fantasies as well, but it was just recognizing like, oh, I am going to live a life of abundance that I can't fathom from where I am right now. And I know, Rachel, I've watched your journey actually don't know where this conversation is going, but I've watched your journey and you have gone from money's great, but I don't need it to just money's great. But you've always said you always knew that money wouldn't be a problem. Did you always see yourself having a big, abundant? I always want like an Oprah-esque life, right? Have you always seen that for yourself?
Yeah, so that's exactly how I used to feel, like, even as a little kid, like you were saying, money will never be a problem for me, even though until I was, like, 30 or 35 even it was, like, um, I grew up where, like, I always had food, I always had shelter, I never had to worry about money, and yet I did. I was always concerned about money, and I think it's because my parents, like I developed in my early 20s, like they had this abundant feeling, but it was always backed up by like stress and worry and like credit cards and stuff. And I was really aware of that. And and so despite that, I thought, well, when I'm older, I'm gonna be fine. And and even as I was not fine, like totally broke in my 20s, like sometimes I couldn't afford to put gas in my car, which was always like my rock bottom moment. Um, I still believed it. I still knew it. It just hadn't shown up yet. So, and I couldn't imagine myself wealthy, but my role model was Willy Wonka, who he had an empire. He had a global market share, right, on people's chocolate habit. I know this sounds crazy, but he really like he shaped my entire life, this character, from the movie. He had his own thing and he didn't have to worry, right? But yet he wasn't like, you know, the DuckTales guy with just like the big room of like swimming in
Scrooge
gold
McDuck?
coins. Scrooge McDuck, yeah. Like so that was how I saw myself. I saw myself somewhere doing my own thing, being comfortable and, abundant, but it wasn't like I saw myself with the gold chains on or anything.
I'm really glad that you brought up actually Willy Wonka and Scrooge McDuck. And I will say this and then let you take this conversation wherever you intended it to go. Because um Willy Wonka, I love that that is your role model. Like I see it reflected in what is behind you and in what you are creating, right? In that, like, yeah, I have my empire and it is full of whatever the hell I want, right? That is very Willy Wonka. It's so funny because I saw him as an eccentric. Um, I maybe identified a little bit more with Charlie than I did with Willy Wonka. It's funny. I knew in watching the movie that he was like a rich guy, but I didn't associate that is what wealth is. That is what wealth looks like. I did, however, make that association with Scrooge McDuck. And that turned into like a little bit dangerous of associations for me and probably for a lot of you who are watching, right? Like wealthy people are a-holes. Wealthy people are stingy. Wealthy people get that way by stepping on the little guy. Wealthy people. And so I had that habit because wealth was my goal, my vision. I mean, I wasn't a jerk, but I had a hard time being generous. I worried about. I was a penny pincher. I was an obsessive saver, but not. I didn't know how to experience abundance because I was so caught up on. I mean, I didn't make any sort of conscious association with becoming Scrooge McDuck, but I definitely was living way more in the Scrooge McDuck paradigm than I was in the Willy Wonka paradigm. So hopefully that was helpful for any of you who are just watching this. And Rachel, tell me about the conversation. You don't have to tell me everything about the conversation with Guillaume, but what made you want to talk about this today?
Well, we had an intuitive art reading yesterday, and one of his questions, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Guillaume, because I'm pretty sure you've said it publicly on the live streams before. But anyway, he is a writer. He writes awesome books, like in a genre that I'd never even heard about, which sounds totally incredible. Guillaume, if you want to put your link in the chat, do it. And you can check out his books. It's what is it? It's now I'm like blanking on the genre, but like funny erotica is part of what he writes. Like that sounds amazing. And he has lots of books written, and he would love to make lots of money from his books. Like who wouldn't? And so this idea of making lots of money off of what you love doing has always been intriguing to me. And of course, I did have to overcome lots and lots of false ideas to get here. But the reason I wanted to talk about this today, beyond Guillaume, is like Carrie and I both make lots of money doing what we love. And the more we've defined what we love, the more money we make, the easier we make it. And this goes back to what I see with new business owners, including myself, with putting the modality first, putting the product first, putting the whatever it is that you do first, instead of what do you love? What do you want to talk about? Where does your heart sing? What makes you come alive? If you put that first, that is where your alignment, your leverage comes from. And that starts making you more magnetic. It sets you apart. And that's how money can flow more easily, because when you are living in that space of doing what you love, talking about what you love, attracting people that you love, working with people that you love, then you are wide open to receive. Your gates are open, your door is open, you are in alignment, you are swimming in the pool of abundance, and therefore it can find you. But if you're saying, I'm not worthy, but this modality is really cool and it can help you, or my worth comes from helping you, instead of my worth comes from being me and being lit up and doing what I want to love. Um, anyway, that's a major shift, and it takes a lot of confidence to make that shift, and time, and like reinforcing of new beliefs, and it takes a lot to get there. But when it does, then there's the money. So Carrie, I know you probably have stuff to say about this, but also erotic comedy. Thank you, Guillaume. Also, this is a huge topic. So if you guys have specific questions, put them in the chat and we will get to them, because I would love to know what you want to know about making lots of money. We will totally go there. Okay, Carrie.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I love that you said we both make lots of money. And I am totally interested in making lots more money, right? Like, I make lots of money compared to what I thought lots of money was when I first started my business, right? Like, and each month I am like open to receiving even more. And that, I think that's the fun. I think that's the joy. And when you were talking, it reminded me of, I just got off a client call with someone who I have been working with her since we worked together 2017, 2018, 2019. Her word for the year was autonomy. And so we took that year off and she was autonomous. And then we've been back working together in 2020 and 2021. And we like literally just had this conversation, this celebration conversation of like, you don't even know how good it can be. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. And the life that you are living now was like your dream. Like remember when we were talking in 2019, like this was unfathomable, because she was like, her natural tendency is to get in her head and be like, okay, I need to plan my 2022 and put things on my calendar. And so, right, why she has me is because I get to be me. I get to show up. And you guys, sorry, Siri's always listening. I think this was the shift that really helped me, Rachel, was recognizing I'm enough. I don't have to know why she thinks working with me is so great. Working with me is so great. It helps her. I get to show up and be me. And she is having exceptional results. And I think when she and I first started to work together, I was like maybe there was a result that I was thinking about, or she actually came to me through a program that I ran, which was, I don't even sell that anymore. But regardless, um, I'm telling two different stories at once. So let me tell her story, which is just recognizing your job is to relax and claim your genius. So she has a very specific skill set and things that she is certified in and things that she's really good at. And she was just saying, like, do I lean more into this, or do I lean more into like really what is her personal business? And then she just like came to, oh, people love me. They're falling in love with me. The thing that she's certified in, like, people are maybe actively searching for it. And so that's how they find her. But like, where her, like, the real money in her life and in her business, it's in being her. It's that people find her through this modality and then they freaking fall in love with her. And she is getting, this is so fun because like the stuff that she was like, oh, if I could just like, it was all stuff she thought she would have to create. And we've been working on like, no, it comes to you. It comes to you. And in the past year, she has been invited to like so many crazy, amazing, like the people who she is sharing stages with and going on retreats. Like, it is stuff that she couldn't even have imagined. So anyways, I am excited to be celebrating her money story at like just coming from that call right before this. Like, your life can be easier and more abundant than your brain can imagine. And my story is super similar to that. In the beginning of my like deciding to make money, I was so like seduced by the idea of make money for being who you are. But I didn't know I wanted that more than anything. But I was like, go
Can I
ahead.
just interject too? Because yes, and no one was really teaching that. That was like a thing, but I mean, I had a program like that, but like, you know what I mean? It was all blueprints and six figures where we come from.
That's what I was getting at, is they were teaching it. They were saying make money for being who you are. But then they were telling you this is exactly what you have to do to make money by being who you are. You have to do it this way. You need to create what is it, that one thing that you're good at? And this is going to go down, but Rachel and I have a friend who I remember that I know what she really was passionate about. And and she loved that work and she was good at it. And it was heart opening. And it was expansive and she wasn't making like shit piles of money doing it. But that was the business she wanted to grow. And we were at a function together and one of the speakers got a hold of her and told her, no, sell your expertise. That's where the money is. And she did. She sold her experience and her expertise and who she was as a part of that. And both Rachel and I have benefited from her doing that, but ultimately it was not the true abundance that she actually wanted. Like, it was maybe the low hanging fruit, but it didn't necessarily take her where she really wanted to go abundance wise. And it took her a while, but she wound up deciding, yeah, this totally isn't for me. This was a profitable detour on my path. But it's not my path. And so, anyways, all that to be said is that is exactly what happened for me. Like, I was like, okay, people keep telling me it's possible to make money by being who I am, but none of these things they're telling me to do feel like who I am. And so that made me feel less than. That made me feel like not enough. That made me feel like there's something wrong with me. That made me feel like I don't actually have anything specific or brilliant to offer. And I am not being who I am isn't enough. I have to package it a certain way. I have to shine it up and put it like, it really did a number on me. I think that's all I want to say about that for now. I'll look at the comments.
Yeah. It was an interesting time when I think there's more consciousness in the like coaching, spiritual business education world now, for sure. And I also think there's still a lot of you have to do it this way or it won't work. Um, a lot of people told Carrie that she couldn't be the business BFF. A lot of people told me that the Intuitive Art Academy was never going to work. And luckily, we did it anyway and found our own alignment and found our own way and really used our intuition to guide us into the best strategies that would work for us. Because for us, for me, Intimate Alien asked this of a class she was teaching once, like, okay, so you're in business or you're in a job, but more so business because you create it. Why are you doing it? Why are you showing up to this thing? Why are you working on it? Why are you creating this? Why? Like, is it so that you'll be happy eventually or now? Is it so that you can have money? Like, is it so that you can create more stress for yourself? Is it so that you can spend your day talking about something that doesn't interest you? Like, check yourself, are you living how you want to eventually live? If you have a business because you want to create some financial relief and freedom, well, are you doing business in a way that helps you feel relief while you're doing it, whether the finances are there yet or not? Because how you create your business, how you feel working on it is what you're creating more of. And, Carrie was talking about like, 10 years ago, she would have imagined herself like probably being in a suit or something, like making this amount of money and looking more polished and showing up. And for me, I definitely saw myself as a more polished, put together person. And in a way, I probably am. But what is most prevalent in my life now that my higher self was always telling me when I desperately wanted to make more money was relax. Like for years and years and years, when I would look ahead and ask my higher self, like, tell me what to do to get to make more money, it would say, relax. And now, what am I? I am hella relaxed. Not every moment of every day. I have my moments, but those moments of stress are so obvious to me because my life is 99% stress free. And I want to say that in creating my business, I had a lot of support. I had a house to live in, I had a partner that was supportive. He didn't get what I did. He doesn't want to really talk about it, but he didn't disrespect me about it either, right? Like, I have parents. I could go sleep on their couch if I needed to, right? So I understood that I didn't really have anything to lose, which is really, really big. In my 20s, that wasn't necessarily the case for me. I was on the hook a lot more for my daily responsibilities. Like my partner wasn't reliable. I had to pay the rent, I had to buy the food, I had to make sure we had a registered car in the driveway. So I understand that like your current position might not be completely set up for you to take a big risk and quit your job and start your business, but you can get there. Just like I got there from a not so great place just by slowly, slowly, slowly caring more about myself and feeling good, and found myself a safe place and, to build my business, to grow myself. And I did so at first with other obligations, right? I didn't just quit my job, start a business, and then make a lot of money. So don't put a timeline on yourself, right? Find a way to relax, find a way to accept where you are right now, because right now is good enough. You're in the perfect place to have all of these things pop for you, but don't rush it. Don't expect too much, right? Find your place of relaxation, expectation of a positive future, and just let yourself grow and expand in that groove.
Yes. 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 And you guys, I know you've heard me say this before, but I spent years trying to force alignment, like trying, period. Right. Like we've had that conversation on this channel as well. Like try. And I was like, That was exhausting. And same, what is my higher self? What is my future self? What is my intuition? Anytime I ask it a question about how do I get this thing or what do I have to do? Like the answer is relax, relax, relax. And the truth is, this might be a worthwhile question for the chat. When I say wealthy or abundant or make a lot of money, what does that feel like? So we can just use the word abundance. I feel like it's a good place to start. Is what does abundance feel like for you? So for me, when I would think about, let us know in the chat. I would actually love to know, like when you think about the word abundance and you feel that feeling in your body, the idea of like, what does abundance feel like? What are the feelings that come up for you, right? Describe those feelings. So for me, when people would ask me that, for years, I would say exactly what you're saying, Corinne. I would say relief. It feels like a long overdue exhale. It feels like relaxation. It feels like, to me, spaciousness was a big part of abundance. And the reason I'm saying that is because that was really important for me to recognize was, okay, if that's what I want, if a lot of money / abundance feels like this, then my job is to feel like this. Right? And that was like revolution.
Say that again. Say that again. This is this is everything, guys.
So if a lot of money / abundance feels like this, so your guys' words are freedom, I would ask you, what does freedom feel like, right? Relief. I bet freedom, there's a sense of relief in freedom, sense of relaxation in freedom, sense of openness, a sense of possibility, a sense of expansion. Comfort. What does comfort feel like, right? Comfort, it feels safe. It feels relaxing. It feels like everything's okay, right? If this is what a lot of money feels like, if this is what abundance feels like, then my job is to feel like that. Find a way to feel like that. When I really got that, because all of us, right? As Western society teaches us, stress yourself out, work yourself to the bone, make yourself anxious, make yourself insanely crazy so that one day, eventually, you might feel these things, right? Stockpile cash so that one day you might feel these things. But you guys, so I use Scrooge McDuck as the example, but there was something that was imprinted on me when I was young. And I can remember the moment it happened, and maybe I shared it on this channel. I was in the Pirates of the Caribbean with my cousin, which is a ride at Disneyland. And it's the part of the ride where you're like going through like the caverns, and you get to this place where you see all the pirate treasure. And I saw a skeleton sitting on like this massive pile of gold. And I was like, this is my room. That's me. And you guys, I cannot tell you what that imprint like subconsciously did to me for a really long time. Made me feel like I literally have to starve myself in order to sit on a pile of gold. I had what I call moneyrexia. But it was that Scrooge McDuck mentality, right? And so no matter how much I had, I never felt rich. I didn't feel wealthy. I didn't feel abundant. I felt scarce. And getting it was hard. And getting it felt like always never enough, right? Like no matter how much came in, there was always some big expense or like something. What changed everything for me was realizing what abundance really feels like in my body. In my body, it feels spacious. It feels relaxed. It feels like less things. It feels like a really clean, open hotel lobby. A modern, clean, fresh smelling hotel lobby. So how can I get more of that in my life? And I'm looking at what Judith says. I'm just on my little soliloquy here. And Judith, practicing gratitude didn't work for me as much as practicing appreciation. And I know it's a subtle difference, and maybe it's just a difference in what's the word for that? It's just a difference in words. Like gratitude and appreciation may mean the same for you, but for me, gratitude meant there's a little bit of indebtedness that goes with gratitude that doesn't go with appreciation for me. So if that's not in gratitude for you, awesome, more power to you. But for me, I'm grateful for, there was a should, like, well, you should be grateful for it. Well, you should, like, there was just a little something about I'm grateful for that wasn't the same as I'm just appreciating. Like, I just freaking love this. And when I go to appreciation first, then I can find gratitude that feels different. Anyways, that's what's up with me. What's up, Rachel?
Well, I just want to highlight what you were saying, in that we live in a vibrational universe. Whether we like it or not, whether we think it's real or not, in my life, I have noticed that what I think about and how I'm feeling shows up super, super clearly, super literally, super specifically. And to the point where, like, I I don't really pay attention to world news. I understand that things are happening that are terrible, and I try to do my part from a place of alignment. I do. I give money, I volunteer, like, I do lots of great things, but I don't need to know the bad in order to give the good, right? But when this Gabby Petito thing started happening, and she, it's van life, and that's very close to my heart, and they were over in this area, like, I started paying attention, and of course then the YouTube algorithm shows me like every single channel that's covering it, and so I'm like kind of paying attention to all the updates, and it went on for a long time. So there were lots of check-ins on my part, and the topic of like domestic abuse is in that case, and obviously more than that, but that's not something that was really in my life. I wasn't ever thinking about that topic. And then, of course, I start to hear my neighbors fighting. Like, I'm at my desk at the right time to hear them fighting. And then, wouldn't you know, at 11 o'clock at night, someone's knocking on my door telling me that down the street, their kid is being held at gunpoint in a house, which actually wasn't true. The lady was just trying to find her daughter and was lying. So randomly weird, right? And then I hear from my neighbor that like these other people are fighting in their house. Like, this is the law of attraction. This is how easy something can take hold and gain momentum in your life. And just as easily as it can and be negative like this, it can be positive too. And so when we're talking about like finding a way to feel spacious now, finding a way to feel comfort now, finding a way to feel freedom now, even if it is like an isolated incident, even if you have to say, okay, I'm stepping away from my life for 10 minutes, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to imagine myself where I want to be for 10 minutes. And I know that it's not here yet. I'm not trying to lie to myself. I'm just trying to make peace for these 10 minutes so that I can feel this way that I want to feel. You're creating the magnet for that to come to you. And the more you can do that, the easier it will be, the faster it will come. And that's also how you keep it going. Why do all these lottery winners lose all their money in a couple of years? Because they don't have that basis of vibrational alignment with being wealthy, right? It's a lot of, oh, I wasn't worthy before, I'm not worthy now, and so it all goes away. And that's why a lot of people who make money are in debt, because they don't have that vibrational foundation of abundance, alignment, worthiness that allows them to keep being a magnet to it, right? So money doesn't solve problems. What money has actually done for me is given me the thing that I wanted all along, right? What you guys are talking about: comfort, freedom, stability, ease. Although I had ease before. What's the other word that was? Relief. You guys, having a lot of money is really boring, and it's really great. It is completely boring. It is completely like, I'm an old lady now. Like, there's no stress. I'm not doing things because I need money. I'm doing things because it feels like a fun idea to me. And I know that sounds exciting, and it is in a sense, but it's a lot more on this side, the relaxed side, than it is the jump for joy side. Like, I jump for joy every day just because, but having a lot of money is it's just a different baseline, right? It's not the life changer. If you don't love yourself and you have a lot of money, you're not going to be happy. If you are putting others first and you have a lot of money, you're going to give it away. Like, money is amazing, but it's what you do with it. And what you do with it is going to be based on your alignment and how you feel about yourself. So if you can get that right, then you are the perfect vessel for money to flow through you and for you to have a really good time with it and for you to feel those feelings. But you've got to feel those feelings first. And I sound so authoritative, you guys. Obviously, go through your own truth, but what I'm saying is just based on my experience and observation of a lot of others.
And there is a decision. There is a decision. And I'm saying that because I can remember my decision, and I remember watching people like this talk, like the people who, like came up in this industry before me is so fun. Like, actually a couple of them have become my clients. And so that has been like this full circle thing where I was like, oh man, I just really wanted their life. And then I'm like, oh, guess what? I get paid to be me. Like, these were the people telling me that no one would pay me unless I had like this perfect thing. And then somehow we connect and they're like, oh, you're my person. So that's a side note. But the decision, though, is a big deal. And I remember for me, I really do believe in the power of perspective. And I remember that I was on a call with someone who I felt was further along in business than me, was way more successful than me, and like some metrics, like she really was. And I was actually helping her out in her business. That was the path that I took. I still take, like, I help people out in their businesses. But early on, I was very much afraid to be in front. I was afraid to be the thing that people paid for. And so I would be like part of the thing that people paid for, or I would help people. I did a lot of affiliate marketing where I would use my sparkle to sell somebody else's stuff. But anyways, I just remember her saying something about these other women. Like, she was kind of in this cranky space and she was talking about these people and how they can build their businesses and blah, blah, blah. And whatever she was talking about, she said they're rich. And I remember recognizing that her idea of rich was my idea of like, we're barely getting by. Like, I recognize, oh, she's actually talking about women like me. And I feel so scarce. Siri's having trouble hearing me. Right. I feel like so scarce. I feel desperation on the daily. I am like near panic all the time. And this woman thinks I'm rich. And, I remember listening to this guy who I thought like, and, he does make millions of dollars in his business. And I just really thought like, this guy has it all figured out and he's made it. And I remember him saying, like, kind of telling his story and how he would, every time he was at the checkout counter, when he had to fork over cash, like pay for his groceries or do whatever, he would have a little saying that he said to himself, which was just like, there's plenty more where this came from, and for me, like, that's what it took. It took really deliberate appreciation practice of, what do I have? Like, I'm so grateful that. But the big kicker for me, the thing that really made a difference, and this was the decision, was I recognized that what abundance felt like what it would be like to be amazingly wealthy would be to be able to just say yes to my kids when they asked. So like, if they said, Mom, can we get this thing? I would just not go to, oh my God, I could make that for so much cheaper. Or, no, we're not buying that. Like, you don't need that. Like, that was my knee jerk, was like, no, we are purchasing only what we absolutely need. We only buy gifts at Christmas and birthdays. Like, I was there, and it was just recognize, I want to be the kind of person who says yes to my kids without hesitation. Doesn't mean that spoil them rotten, but like, just that it's okay. like, yeah, that box of granola bars isn't going to break us. That like, and the more I said yes, like, especially I have 3 kids. Like, if you talk to the older kids about the younger kid, they're like, she has it so easy. Like, they're like, I buy these stupid sandwiches now, and they're like, can't believe you're the kind of mom that buys those. Like, but that was a huge shift for me. Was I decided to be the kind of person who says yes to her kids. And then I started to make a lot more money. And I'm sure there were plenty of other micro decisions, but it was like, that was a tough one. Like, my knee jerk was to be like, no, it's not essential for life. We're not buying it. And I realized, like, that's not what abundance feels like. So if I want things to change, I have to change. I have to be the kind of person that says yes. And as you know, if you follow, I had a whole year of yes, and it was a game changer. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Money is just so interesting, isn't it? Like we fixate on it, and I understand why, because it does represent so much for so many people. It represents freedom. It represents um, living a life on your own terms, you know? And just think about things for a second right where you are. Even, even for me, of course, I want more freedom, more money, more all of the good things in life. But if I think about it right now, my freedom really is internal. It's based in my mind. How free I think I am is the worldview that I'm creating. It really doesn't have anything to do with money, right? And so when we can reclaim these things instead of putting them out onto an object that we don't have, that is incredibly freeing, right? Like, what do we really want? We want to feel good. We want to feel good. What does freedom mean? We want to feel like we can express ourselves, like we can live the life that we want. And if you take away the material part of that, you can do exactly that right now. Like, really microscopically, right? You have everything that you want, and it's just about your ability to envision yourself doing that now. I don't even know if I'm totally making sense here, but like, we have the ability as human beings to feel whatever we want to feel. And if you can feel freedom now, then you'll see all the ways that you are physically free right now. If you choose to focus on where you are limited, of course, you can see lots of ways you're limited, but it's your choice of how to focus. And, after I got divorced in my 20s, I lived with a roommate, and that ended weirdly. And then I moved in with my dad, and I was like unemployed, living with my dad after I'd, been married, been an adult out in the world. And it was terrible. Like, I felt like so low. I felt the closest I've ever felt to worthless in my life. I was depressed. Like, there was just so much happening. And the good part was that I had a sense of freedom because I made a choice in my life that I knew was leading me in a better place. So I had a little spark of that, but I was like, how do I take this freedom inside and put it in the outside of my life? I've got no money. I didn't even have a car at the time. It was just, I was like here without being actually homeless. And luckily, right? Very luckily. But I knew that there had to be a way to rebound. I knew there had to be a way to live a better life than I'd lived before. And it was like one day at a time of choosing to do things that were enlivening to me, even if because of my depression it was this much enlivenment. Go for a walk, stare at the sunset, make a painting, write something, very little tiny things. And all of that adds up to bigger confidence, to bigger capacity to feel better, to letting better ideas come in. That's the time that I got together with Eric, and life really changed dramatically in the next 5 years. So making those decisions that line up with how you want to feel, even if it's a small thing that you're capable of doing right now. But that's what leads to more money. What More money with the happiness, more money with the freedom, right? Not more money and you're burnt out and lying on the couch and then you get a huge bill and you have to pay all that money that you just made. Aligned money, right? Yeah.
And the biggest shift that's happened for me is the awareness that there's more where that came from. That, and this goes to like abundance versus scarcity mindset. But before, even when I would dream about, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Rachel, I would dream about winning the lottery and I would be like in my journaling, writing about like whatever the jackpot was. And then I would start to like think about what I'm going to do with it, right? Because this is what the law of attraction people were telling me to do. Like, okay, be really specific, know what you want. And I would find a way to make whatever that lottery jackpot was not enough. Like I would look at it and be like, okay, it's 400 million, but after taxes, it's only 200 and whatever million. And then I need to pay up my parents' house. And I would like whittle it down to nothing. Like I would whittle it down to practically nothing. I'd be like, oh man, I need a bigger jackpot. Like, and so for me, like there was also that shift internally. That year of yes was major, but also like recognizing it's unlimited. The universe is unlimited. Like there is unlimited supply. And there's more where that came from, right? I thank goodness I didn't win the lottery when I wanted to, because I would have done what all those other lottery winners do, right? I would have found a way to make it not enough because I was living from a place of not enough. And so like once I got to that place of like, okay. And for me, it took working on it and recognizing, okay, so far, and I'm sure you, Rachel, like even at my lowest low, I still had a roof over my head. I still had a safe place to land. And even if you have been in your lowest low and you didn't have a roof over your head or you didn't have a safe place to land, I still managed to get through that. I still managed to stay alive. I still managed to eat every day. I still managed to make friends or have a pet or like eat whatever. And I moved forward. And so far, the universe has never let me down. So far, the universe has actually delivered to me whatever I would allow in. So, what if
I don't think, oh, sorry.
I was just saying, what if I believe there's more where that came from? Whatever it is, there's plenty more where that came from.
I don't think Carrie and I can stop this conversation without talking about being unconditional. Because that's really been a game changer for me this year. And I know for you as well. It's been a theme for you. So I think we need to talk about this. This has been coming up more and more in my coaching this year as well. And it's the idea that you can feel and imagine whatever you want. It doesn't need to have a reality to it yet. That's basically what unconditional means. Unconditional means there doesn't need to be a thing yet for you to feel or imagine it. And what does that mean? It means that even if there's chaos going on around you, you can choose to feel however you want to feel. Now, it may take some time to get there, right? Because there's momentum, but you can do it. even if it's for 1 second, even if it's for 20 seconds, and you build yourself up. You can choose to feel how you want to feel, regardless of the condition. And you can imagine yourself in any state or place or circumstance that you want, regardless of whether it's real for you right now or not. And being unconditional and knowing you are unconditionally worthy, right? Regardless of what you've done or who you think you are in somebody's light, you are unconditionally worthy. You are completely worthy, regardless of your conditions, right? You can be unconditionally abundant, regardless of your bank account. And you can know that you are worthy of unconditional abundance, right? Like, it's taking the circumstance out, taking the reality out of the equation so that you feel how you want to feel and that you can imagine your life in a way that pleases you, regardless of what your reality is now. And I've been focusing on unconditional love this year specifically, but it really ties in with unconditional abundance, because what unconditional love, feeling that feeling, has done for me is made me feel worthy of unconditional abundance. It's shown me that abundance is always, always available for me to allow when I'm aligned with it. And it has been my best financial year ever, doing a lot less thinking about it and planning about it, and just focused on love and allowing, and that's what's been happening. I've been noticing my unconditional abundance.
I like your definition of unconditional. I wouldn't have defined it that way. So it's like super interesting. Like, oh, I mean, for me, it means without condition. So it just means that. So my word for the year was unconditional abundance. And I just recognize that means that there are no have tos, there's no how, because there are no conditions. So abundance is unconditional, right? It can show up. The more I'm open to it, the more it'll come. And I don't like, for me, it was about not putting conditions on how the abundance comes to me. And so I really like your play on it, right? Which is about like, there's no conditions on you, Carrie. You can feel abundant right now. And of course, that has been a huge part of my process. But I just find that like super interesting that for you, unconditional meant like you can imagine whatever you want. And for me, it was about like, you don't have to imagine anything. It's coming. Yeah. So whichever way you view it, right, is that it's without condition. There's no rules. There's no have to. You can do whatever the hell you want.
It's all of that. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally feel your way too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I like your definition of unconditional because it makes me feel powerful. In my version, I know I'm powerful. I'm a super powerful creator. But it does feel passive. Now, good news, passive income is something that I have been all about since I was a tiny little person. And so that is super fun for me to play with all of the ways that my income feels so freaking passive. Even sometimes when it's not like that. This just happened to me this weekend where, I mean, it was passive, but I did do something to earn that income a while ago. I just completely forgot about it. And then like one day I had an intention. I was like, I want, like, what I am doing this week cannot directly translate to money. So how is this extra $1,000 just going to show up out of nowhere? And sure enough, it did, right? It showed up in my bank account like within an hour. And I was like, oh yeah, that thing I did a while ago, that felt really passive. And yes, words are magic.
How you feel about the words you're saying is magic too.
Yeah.
Because you can say whatever you want, but if you don't believe it, if it doesn't feel open, then you're just creating more resistance. And I listen to the Abraham meditations at night sometimes. And I listen to the one about financial abundance. And there's a line in there, and I'm not even going to get it totally right, which is funny because I've heard it like hundreds of times probably. But it's like, you will get more abundance if you focus more on abundance. What? This is simple. It's simple. It's so, so simple. And I rejected that for a long. I love complicated. Well, I used to. Let me just say. I used to love complicated. I used to love mind games. I used to love the chase. I used to love the stress, the drama. I used to love all that stuff. I would have told you I didn't, right? Obviously, nobody really wants that if you can have freedom and financial independence, but it's just so simple. If you can feel abundant on a daily basis and then grow that, focus on it more every day. What is around you? I have a roof on my head. I have, not on your head. There's grass over there. And not things you should feel abundant about, but what you really feel abundant. You know what makes me feel really abundant? Tissues. Because before I could afford tissues, we would always just use toilet paper to blow our nose, and I've always had seasonal allergies, and so that was like months at a time of toilet paper like hanging off my nose. I hated it. Tissues make me feel really abundant. Like having Topo Chico in my life makes me feel really abundant. These are the cheapest glasses I've ever purchased, but they make me feel abundant. These frames were like $7. Like, whatever makes you feel abundant doesn't need to cost a lot, doesn't need to make sense to anyone else, doesn't need to be the big thing you should feel abundant about, but really makes you feel stressed about. That's it. Just feel more abundant or feel more free or comforted. That's all it takes. It's that relaxing that opens you up to receiving from your intuition and opens your door to allowing these manifestations to come in. And in reality, that's what I did to make lots of money doing only what I love. Yeah, I did stuff too, but I did stuff because I had an inspired idea for my intuition to do stuff. And when I first started out, those inspired ideas were like, doing it a lot of the way that other people did it before, because that's what I believed would work. That's what I had access to, right? That's what my intuition was steering me to, because that's what my path of least resistance was, which was great. I learned a lot. And then as I've gone on in years, I've realized, oh, I can do it my way. I can do it my way. What if I could do this? What if I could make money doing this? Amazing. And then I'm just going to do this. And oh my God, that makes money. I had no idea that was going to make money. And it just keeps getting easier and easier because I'm more relaxed and more free and more stable and more comforted. But it's these feelings that allow that to happen. So,
Well, I feel like that's our challenge for everybody watching. I would love if you would put it in the chat. Like, what are things that make you feel abundant? So, like you, Rachel, I know you love giving gifts, right? Like giving gifts, purchasing things for other people, even little tiny things, right? That makes you feel super abundant. For me, giving gifts actually doesn't make me feel super abundant. Receiving gifts does. So yay for that. We have a symbiotic relationship happening here. But also, like those little, so saying yes to my kids made me feel abundant, right? Doing like spending the extra upgrading, like spending the extra, even if it was like $5, getting the name brand of this instead of that, like, oh, that does make me feel abundant. Like, yeah. So what is it for you? Like, what are the things that feel abundant or extravagant that you could just choose to say yes to?
Thank you for the ending chime. I feel like we're in school. The classes are changing. So yeah, you guys, this is a totally different conversation than I thought we'd be having. I thought Carrie and I were just going to be kind of like chatting it up about what it feels like to make lots of money, but I don't know. I got into teacher mode, and I'm just gonna trust that that's what the best thing to come out would have been, because I can't do otherwise. But we could talk about this again if you guys want to hear more stories or anything like that. But really, I think it's what you think it's gonna be, and it's not. Like it's it's beautifully boring. It's beautifully comfortable. It's, you know what I mean? It's like what you want. It's beautifully relieving. In order, the biggest thing that's changed in my life is now I can fix my car when it needs to be fixed, and I don't stress about it. Like that's that's what it's like. It's just like it's not an issue anymore. And so it's just there's less stress, which is obviously incredible. So
And for
yeah.
me, Rachel, it is confidence that there's plenty.
Hmm.
That any big expense that comes or anything that, like, I'm about to send 3 kids to college, like, I don't have to stress over that. Like, I live in a world of unlimited and unconditional abundance. So I don't have to stress. It's just choosing relaxed,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
choosing.
And it's having a bigger appreciation for money itself too. Like I know we're over time, but I took a lot more extravagant vacations when I had no money than I do now, because now I have a different appreciation for money. Like I'm going to see my family in Connecticut next week, and it's just for 1 week, not even a whole weekend. And I'm not renting a car for the first time ever going to Connecticut. Usually I'll rent a car, I'll drive all over the freaking place, and but it was like an extra $700 where I'm mostly going to be spending time with my family anyway, and it's like, no, I don't really want to spend that, and I don't actually have to. If I book my flights right, my mom could pick me up and drop me off, and it's like it just felt so relieving. It was so good to just know that that $700 can do something else in my life. So, and I think if I wasn't as confident as I am now, I would have booked a car because I wouldn't want people to think I was poor. Like, so it's such a mind thing.
Well, and things have changed a little bit, but like there is abundance everywhere. There's Uber and Lyft, and like there are other things. There's no have tos. You don't have to book a car because you have unlimited options.
Yeah.
Just rad.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, obviously we could talk more about this, and maybe we'll do a part 2 next time, but let us know what you want to know. What did you want us to talk about? And we will. So lots and lots and lots of love to you guys. Thank you, Zach and Judith and Guillaume and Corinne and Karina and Linda and all of you. We love you so much. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.